Okay, so coming back here, we kill Robespierre. The terror has ended basically. When Robespierre is dead, the terror is over. But then they're stuck saying like, now what? All in all, the Reign of Terror kills 25,000 people. 25,000 people. And this was in just over a year. The Reign of Terror lasted, I think, 13 months. And so it didn't seem necessary because the war was going on well at home and the Republican forces had crushed the provincial uprisings. So we didn't need to kill anymore. Plus, there was nobody there to lead us. So we have to decide to do something else. And so we have the Thermidorian reaction. And this is the wealthy middle class and professional people replace the sans-culottes. Because the sans-culottes are those crazy rebel rousers that want to just change things up. And now we need to bring in a more steady group. And this is the group, the upper middle class. These are those wealthy merchants, wealthy artisans, the enlightened, educated people who want France to do well. They just wanted to fix the economy. They wanted to get the king's head out of his hinder. They didn't want all of this crazy death thing going on for the last couple years. And so we end the terror and establish a new constitutional regime. And it came from the widespread feeling that the revolution had become too radical. And so we got rid of the sans-culottes, and we took down the Committee of Public Safety. The Committee of Public Safety was that group that was in charge of the terror. They were the one making the laws. They were the ones that made the law of 22 Praille, where we were killing anybody with no reason. We got rid of the Paris Commune. They got rid of the Paris Jacobin Club. Like anybody who was kind of on the crazy end, they're kind of done. We're shutting you down and we're kind of just starting over. But that didn't mean the end of violence. The Thermidorians collected, this upper middle class folk, collected some of the real bad leaders of the terror and some real bad Jacobins and sans-culottes and killed them as well, because they didn't want any chance of them rising up against and creating this reign of terror again, so they just killed the people. And some of them were, like, they didn't even, like, take them down by guillotine, but they would have these, like, roving band of marauders going through cities and just beating up and terrorizing anybody who they came across. That's good. They were called Bands of Jesus, because that's always good when we invoke the name of, religious leadership. These so-called Bands of Jesus dragged suspected terrorists from prisons and murdered them, much as alleged royalists had been murdered during the September massacres of 1792. And so this Republic of Virtue, of being good, of being whatever, we now come into an era of like frivolous pleasures. We're going to families, I like this. Families of victims of the Reign of Terror gave parties in which they appeared with shaved necks with red ribbons tied around them. So they'd cut their hair off so they looked like they had been chopped off by the guillotine, and then tied a red ribbon around their necks to be like, look I'm just like my predecessors who died by the guillotine. This was a fun idea of a party. Like, let's all look like we got our heads cut off. That sounds fun. Yeah, they brought religion back. They brought religion back. They went back to the traditional roles of men and women. Just getting things back to how it was. But the religion thing was a really big deal, because people are like, okay, fine, you can give us the Republic of Virtue, you can do all this. Let us go to church on a Sunday. Let us have that small comfort of faith, because it works for us. And they're like, yeah, we don't really need to get rid of religion. You can be reasonable, you can be enlightened, and still have faith. This is that image that I was telling you about when Robespierre dressed himself up as the supreme being. I'm gonna sneeze. It's his new civic religion. When a statue of atheism was burned and another statue of wisdom rose from the ashes, and he came out dressed as wisdom and walked down this big paper mache mountain. And people were like, you are crazy. You're so crazy. Because there he is, up there. Ta-da! And people around, you could just hear him going, what? Is he in a toga? Why is he in a toga? Yeah, he's the goddess of wisdom. It's a little crazy. That's when people are like, okay, somebody needs to give you your not kooky pill anymore, please. So then we get now we're starting over again. Another constitution for France again, because we just can't seem to get it right. And this is a giant theme of France. We have the Constitution of the year 3, because they're in the 3rd year. They haven't gotten rid of their whole calendar yet. And it rejected a constitutional monarchy and a democracy. Either extreme is not going to work. We cannot have a king and we cannot have a democracy. We need to find something in the middle. But they didn't really know what that was. So they just kind of threw some things at the wall and saw what stuck. Because they can't get their game together. And that's why I want to just hug France and be like, if you just sat down and thinked about this. Because I deserve to be on that thinking committee. So we can all think together. But establishes 2 houses of the legislature, a bicameral. There's your word of the day. Sesame Street, bicameral. 2 houses. Kind of like a House of Lords, a House of Commons, or a House of Representatives and a Senate, and an executive branch. But the executive branch was not going to be led by one person. It was going to be led by committee. What's the problem with leading by committee? You can never agree. And so we had this problem where, yeah, we had this great setup, but you can't, because then they didn't want somebody to become a king or a dictator or anything else. So they led by committee. Didn't work. And the political system based on rank and birth was replaced. They got rid of that idea, keeping the old regime out, the ancient regime out. A system of civic equality and social status. That we come together and you have to earn it. But it also keeps that idea of peasants are here and everybody else is better than the peasants. Because they were still not going to give peasants much of a say. Peasants had to pay no monetary compensation either to their former landlords or to the state. So they were giving some things back to the peasants. The property that won the day, though, was not industrial wealth, but the wealth stemming from commerce, professions, and land. If you had a job in the trades, you were doing well. We got rid of the sans-culottes. No more of the sans-culottes in the political life. They were too crazy. We brought in the directory. And the directory was the idea of the group that was going to rule the legislative branch. We had the lower council of 500, we had the council of elders, and then this executive body, which was the council, 5 people that were going to rule in the executive branch. But it just doesn't come together. They made peace treaties with Spain and Prussia. They ended that outside war. So that was good. Check that off the list. We're not at war outside anymore. They also, we had Gracchus Babeuf, and he says that this directory isn't going to work, so they tried to overthrow it and led the conspiracy of equals, because if nothing else, the French can come up with really clever names for things. The conspiracy of equals. And what the conspiracy of equals wanted was to distribute property evenly amongst all citizens. Everybody gets the same. What does that sound like? Rousseau, definitely. And it has a whiff of communism there as well. We're getting into that idea. Just make everybody equal, that we have no social class distinction. Then everybody will be happy. It's a good idea. Doesn't always work. But Babeuf was not like it. The directory did not like Babeuf because Babeuf was trying to get rid of them. And so the plot fails and Babeuf is executed. I'm not really sure how. But this is right here. What? Baylor lost? Were you watching it?
No.
Be honest.
How would we watch it? The TV's not on.
Oh, shut the door. Is this an upset?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah? This is a big upset?
This is like probably bigger
Both
than
those are
Iowa
three
State won.
seeds. Both are 3 seeds.
They were 3 seeds?
Yeah.
They're-
2 3 seeds are out?
They didn't lose yet, but
There's
they,
2.8 seconds to go.
The coach is
Where do you... I hate March Madness. I hate it. I hate this tournament. Because this is why. You lose people.
pay attention. Come on.
No, you're not. You're watching the game.
Good story. The tear ended. Hey, remember that Louisville guy who snapped his leg in half?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So he decided to leave Louisville, and he's playing for this team now. And he just hit the shot.
Yeah, the tear is over.
Yeah, the tear is over.
Yeah.
That one guy.
Oh, way to try to relate it, you mopes. Where's your phone? Where is it? Where are you watching it from?
Where is it?
Is it in front of his books there?
Maybe.
Put it away.
Can we watch the last?
Now!
No, I don't know if they're gonna win.
For you and the 2 on either side, because you're all kind of there. I hope the FRQ on something big, ugly test is on this.
I'm feeling pathetic. I'm just gonna write about my morning. I'm serious.
I'm just going to write about my morning.
I'm doing a step-by-step process. First I woke up, turned off my alarm,
Just,
brushed my teeth, had some cereal.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I tell them,
Seriously, they should not put any game on TV until 4 o'clock. And so they're not all on TV. They can all, ugh, I hate March Madness. And it stems from the fact that my brother got off school and I had to go, and it just wasn't fair. What? Preble High School. My parents let him stay home today and tomorrow in high school so he could watch foot basketball. And my parents, yeah. And I'd be like, can I stay home? Well, no, it's not that important to you. So Tony gets to stay home and watch basketball? And I have to go to school? Yes. So I'm a little bitter all the time. And now Hickory, Dickory, and Doc are watching the game in my class. Mr. Jaden, really, could this add to the day anymore? This has been a day and a half, and now it's a day and 3/4. All right. So, no. What? What?
you added a quarter of a day, and I was writing for 2 days ago.
No. Depending on how Abby's parent-teacher conferences go, it might get to 2 days instead of a day and 3/4. All right. So, the directory, though, is weak. Okay? Now you're just putting stuff away. Now you're just done. Like, the game's over. I'm done. Whatevs. Okay.
The game's over.
So this directory, while it seems really good on paper and it seems really stable, in the end it's not very good because it doesn't intended to resist any further social changes in France that might endanger property or political instability. And so this doesn't go, though. They needed to be a little bit more flexible. The suppression of the sans-culottes, you can't suppress any group. I mean, you can take them down in power, you can reduce their power, but you cannot suppress. Especially the idea that these are the hard-working class in the cities. These are the ones that were hangry, and now you're suppressing them again. They were... So the 2/3 law, this favored people already in office. It didn't give people a right to have a position in government. That doesn't work either. Catholic Royalist revival, we have the Catholics who are in support of the throne coming back into power. And so we've got this like lingering idea of royalty coming back. If we just brought back a king, we'd be better. What? We did all of this for how many years? We killed how many people? And now people want to bring back a king? What was this all for then? And so the Directory, because they were so trying to find the norm, they couldn't squash that. And then just the wars. You can't have war outside your country and think that this was going to be okay. They were not able to overcome these challenges. And so with the failure and the instability of the Directory, France is literally treading water. They can't figure out what to do. They need somebody to come in and take charge. Yes?
So the Directory is like the government?
Yes.
Instead of like a committee?
They got rid of the Committee of Public Safety. They got rid of all that, and they're like, okay, with the Thermidorian reaction, we got to put the power back to people who know what's going on. So they gave the power away from the sans-culottes, that uneducated lower middle class, and gave it to the educated, enlightened upper middle class. They came up with this Directory idea. But it smacked of entitlement. It didn't suppress anything because they couldn't decide to make anything because there were too many groups in power. You had the bicameral government plus the Directory board. And there was no system of checks and balances. And so everything was just weak, and they needed somebody to come in.
Who's that? The tall guy.
Actually, that myth is wrong. He was actually about 5'8", which was normal height for men during this time period. So this idea of Napoleon being this tiny little like creature is completely wrong.
Just sort of fuel and have my colleague Lord Farquaad then.
I know, but because he was so like, Napoleon was important, but he thought he was more important and better off than he was, like Lord Farquaad.
Well, you gotta remember, Lord Farquaad, he probably was 5'8" too, but Shrek, probably like 7 foot. Like.
True. I mean, so when you're going up against a Shrek, everybody looks like a Farquaad. So, in Russia, Napoleon's going up against Russia. So,
Exactly, 7'8".
So tomorrow we stop the water treading that France is doing, because they're constantly, we don't know what to do. Nothing works. They need somebody to come in. Edmund Burke called this, by the way. Do you not see this? Edmund Burke says it's all going to fall apart. Nothing's going to work. Thomas Paine is like, okay, Burke, fine, you're right. I could have a quiz ready for you for tomorrow. We could do a quiz on it. Do you want that?